Welcome back everyone, I'm Michael, and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple Reddit posts filled with family and relationship drama. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's begin. The post we'll be taking a look at was created just about 2 to 3 weeks ago in the AITAH subreddit by user monthfar2068. The post is titled, "My common-law husband is in Dubai and his side piece showed up at my door with their baby, AITAH, for kicking her out even though she is basically homeless. My husband, 41, and I, 40, have been together for 10 years, and I consider those years to be very loving and happy, but apparently not for him since he had a side piece. I make furniture and make around $1 million a year. My husband is a teacher. It goes without saying that I provide for us. I don't ask what he does with his salary. We live way below our means because we are both minimalists, but we have a big house, nice cars, and lots of art. Everything is mine, however. Apparently, he met his side piece, female, 25, under false pretenses and told her that we were legally married, so he owned half of my company and everything else I own. When she got pregnant, he started spending his salary on her. I wasn't alarmed because I didn't know what he did with his money. Now he is in Dubai on vacation and her lease on her apartment expired, so she just showed up at my door with her baby. She told me she was his GF and that he was getting a divorce, so she might as well live in his house, and that I could live in a hotel because I could afford it. She didn't have any money or home. She literally refused to step out, so I called the police and locked myself in the greenhouse. When the police came, she was literally unpacking the child's clothes in the living area. They escorted her out. I was very shaken. Later, I found out all the details I had included above. My husband's mother thought I was a jerk for kicking out a baby on the street. That was her only grandson. She added that I used and abused my money and power to control everything around me. But honestly, teachers make $60K a year, so if he gave her his salary, I can't understand why she would be so homeless and destitute. She had big designer bags, a designer stroller, and Van Cleef & Arpels jewelry when she showed up at my home." An update post was made about a week later saying the following: "Many are asking for an update, but there isn't much. Here is what's happened this past week and what is going to happen. I will never see him again. It is over. He is back from his trip. He wasn't expecting to start his summer vacation this way. My lawyer has already contacted him about what he's owed. It will be transported to his mother's apartment. Whatever more he thinks he is owed, he can sue me. I will be ready, and I hope he can afford my lawyers when he loses whatever lawsuit he plans to file." Apparently, the apartment that his girlfriend lost was his. He was sending her money for the rent, but she spent it on Prada instead. He swears that the baby isn't his and that he is going to demand a paternity test, as if that would make any difference. Maybe for the baby, but I hope to God that the child isn't his so it can have a better future with more loving parents. I'm moving in with my parents. Right now I am in a hotel, but I have no desire to be in that house again with all the memories. I am selling it, and while I find a new home and sell this one, I will live with my family. The GF has contacted me a few times via social media because she needs to talk. She wants proof that we aren't married because he told her we are. I don't do delusion, so I just blocked her. She has tried to contact me via her friends and mine, so now everyone knows the truth without me needing to make an announcement. I am not sure what more to update. If I have missed anything, I will leave it in the comments. One last thing. I am sorry for maybe using the wrong terms. I am not an English speaker, and Google found that common law marriage is the term used in my situation. Apparently, it has certain laws in English-speaking countries. Our relationship is long-term and we live together. We have a separate economy. We have no rights to each other's property or estate. We don't even inherit each other's stuff without a will. However, anything we purchased during the time we were living together falls under joint estate and is divided equally no matter who the purchaser is. I have no problems dividing these assets in half. I bought our house and some of my expensive art during the time we were partners. It would have been joint assets if we hadn't had cohabitation agreements in place around these expensive purchases. He has no rights to them. Unlike prenups, etc., they are not as easy to contest because he is not legally married to me. Under different circumstances, I would have given him more than what he will get now because I am like that in general. If he had ended things, if he told me he wanted out and didn't love me anymore, because I know that relationships end and people fall out of love. He could have respected me enough to give me that at least, but he didn't. So I will be counting spoons and napkins and he will not get a dime more than what he is owed. That was one of the more shorter stories that we've gone over, but surprisingly enough, it's one of the more satisfying ones. Her soon-to-be ex's GF sounds so irritating, and envisioning her future honestly puts a smile on my face. The fact that she expected to be able to walk into someone's home and just start living there is absurd. Then to have the gall to say that OP was going to lose the house anyway is even crazier. OP shared that her husband has been able to spend his salary on whatever he wants while she covered all of the bills. I'm sure in the near future his GF is going to break up with him and demand child support, while he needs to get back into the habit of being responsible with his money. Of course, I am making an assumption there that he is being irresponsible, but I don't think that that's an unreasonable assumption. As OP shared, her husband gave his GF thousands, potentially tens of thousands of dollars for her to splurge on luxury goods. He really just fumbled a bag with her wife. All expenses were paid, and $60K from his salary to do whatever he wanted. This story was created back in October of 2019 by a throwaway account in the relationship advice subreddit. It's titled, "My fiance broke up with me because my parents have a non-conventional marriage. We've been together for 6 years. We've known each other for another 3 years before that, so 9 years total. We're getting married in February, or we were. I don't know anymore. We're visiting my parents to meet some more of my extended family, so they get to know him before the wedding. My parents offered to host us, and we've been staying in my old room. I'm a 29-year-old female, and my partner is 32. We are staying with my parents. My fiance wanted to stay at a hotel, but I thought sleeping in my old room would be fun. I want to be here with my mom and dad one last time under their roof before I become a married woman. My parents have been in a non-conventional marriage for a long time. It was a shock for me to learn about it, and I learned to cope with it. I am not necessarily comfortable with their lifestyles, but I can't do anything about it. They basically go on dates with other people, spend time with other people, and sleep with other people. I had to learn about it when I came home a few days earlier from a trip with a friend's family, and my father was sleeping next to another woman when I was 16. I freaked out then, and my parents had to explain that it was all fine. So my fiance could not sleep last night. He went outside for some fresh air because he was not used to sleeping away from our bed back home, and he found my mom kissing another guy in my parents' foyer. So he freaked out, started yelling at her, came and woke me up, and demanded I call my father and tell him he found my mom cheating on him. So my mom had to explain to my fiance my parents' non-conventional marriage, but it didn't go well with him. Once it seemed like he calmed down, he started freaking out on me. He told me that he couldn't trust me anymore, that he was set up, and that I insisted we stay with our parents so that I could ease him into the idea and enforce my parents' principles on our own marriage. I simply can't get through to him. My fiance has been cheated on before. His parents have divorced because his mom cheated on his dad, and he doesn't have a good relationship with her. He could barely stomach the idea of having her come to our wedding. He went to a hotel for tonight and said he would be going back home tomorrow. He's not answering his phone or texting back. He says he needs to reevaluate our engagement and that he doesn't think he can marry me knowing I approve of my parents' marriage style. He thinks I want to manipulate him and introduce this lifestyle into our relationship. The truth is, I am ashamed of my parents and their relationships. I had no idea they would behave like this while my fiancé was around. He simply doesn't believe me because I haven't talked about it since I met him. It's not something I find easy to talk about, and the less I think about it, the better. How can I talk with him? I have no interest in my parents' style of relationship. I am fully dedicated to my fiance, and I have never been interested in another person since I met him. I don't want to lose him over this stupid thing, and I feel ashamed he had to find out about my parents like this. I'd have preferred he never knew. Please, if anyone has any ideas, I am interested in any suggestions. Thank you. One user named Tired of Dancing said, "Yeah, you let him learn about that in the worst possible way. I am not excusing his behavior, but I get his reaction. You insisted on staying in their house and you knew his past trauma. I would totally expect you to have told him by now since you are engaged. You should have made it clear that your parents' alternative lifestyle is a big issue for you. It's not your parents' responsibility to cater to his needs when it's their home, and their actions are not a secret. You seem to not be understanding at all that you should not have hidden it. Wanting him to never know is the wrong idea to begin with and what got you this mess. Stop hiding stuff like this and share it in a way that makes it clear you don't approve." Then another user named Pixelated Nuts had something similar to say. "Honestly, you and your family couldn't have handled this worse. This is something you bring up before he meets them, especially with his issues. I mean, he is your fiance. When were you planning on telling him? He thinks the apple didn't fall far from the tree here, and it is hard to fault him for several factors. You got to let him know with no hedging, or omissions that you 100% do not want a lifestyle like this. Be direct, be honest, and be prepared for him to resent the shit out of your parents for a while. I absolutely agree with everything these two said. It was clear that OP understood that her parents' relationship would be seen as strange to most people. So keeping it away from her fiancé was straight up irresponsible. And just like how one of the comments said, OP can't exactly blame her parents for this. They were staying in her parents' home, so they have the right to do and act however they want. If anything, OP's parents probably thought that she had already explained the situation to her fiancé. Later that same day, OP provided an update post. I've already talked with him and I'm staying in the hotel room with him tonight since it's already paid for and it will be fun. Tomorrow we will move to my grandma's house until the end of the week. We came here to meet the extended family and that's what we will do. My parents have finally found it within themselves to apologize, but it no longer matters. For what it's worth, I didn't blame the situation on my parents when we met earlier. Aside from what my parents do in their spare time, I never had a secret from him. He knows I know about his mom. I told him that if he ever wanted to talk about her, I was there to listen, and I understood why he avoided talking about her. He also apologized for his outburst and reaction, but was honest and told me he didn't think he would be that close to my parents in general. I am fine with that since I don't have that close of a relationship with them anyway. I told him how much he hurt me, saying he needed to reevaluate our engagement. He acknowledges he wasn't thinking when he spoke those words and also said he regrets them so much he was afraid he damaged our relationship. He didn't damage it, but I told him if I could predict the future, flowers are what I see. Under this post, a user asked OP why she never mentioned her parents' lifestyle in the first place. This is what OP responded with. He's met my parents several times. We are here to meet my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, stuff like that. We live in a different state. He's met some of them, but not all, and we wanted them to have an idea who my fiancé is. I didn't want them to see him for the first time at the wedding. We have known each other for 9 years. The first 3, we were more like acquaintances, friend of a friend type of thing. We would meet when everyone had a group meeting, a party, a birthday, etc. Then 6 years ago, we had a fight at a friend's marriage announcement party, and we were passionate and stubborn and neither of us would give an inch. Then a friend told us to kiss and make up already, and we did, and here we are. But this entire time, we've lived in our own state, where his family is. My parents and the rest of my family are in the state that we are currently visiting. I never planned to let him know about my parents unless it became a conversation item. It was never something I had to share or felt the need to do so. The very next day, OP provided her final update. I'm still reading through the comments because this thread has become way bigger than I expected. My parents did apologize, but they justified themselves by saying it was a planned night, which I find ridiculous as they invited us to stay with them over a month ago. How far along into the future do you plan your fun nights? I refuse to think they planned their little indiscretion more than a month ago. The bottom line is that they knew we would be there, they invited us, and they didn't care. The idea of not inviting them to the wedding started floating through my mind yesterday while reading the thread, but I am not sure what I will end up doing. They are my parents, they are my responsibility. My fiancé got to see them for who they are and how they are for himself. He now knows why I don't really talk about them. Aside from our little bump in the relationship the other night, we should be fine. We actually ordered 2 books from Amazon at the recommendation of other Redditors with all kinds of relationship tests and lessons, and we will maybe even go to therapy as a couple. It's good to hear that OP has sorted her situation out with her fiancé, but it seems like she left out some bits of information. Initially, I was thinking that OP's parents weren't all that bad. They even went as far as to apologize, which may not seem like much, but I know of way too many entitled people who would never do such a thing in a similar position. However, my opinion was swayed when OP stated that they were invited over a long time ago. With this in mind, OP's mother should have put off this meeting with one of her lovers, or at the very least, went elsewhere while her daughter and soon-to-be husband were over.